Good morning. You are attending the Animal Matters Commission hearing of July 12th, 2021. The Animal Matters Commission was established and is conducted in accordance with Article 12 of the Anne Arundel County Code. These are administrative hearings, and by nature they are informal, which means you are not hampered by rules of evidence. However, please be aware you are still testifying under oath. Each party will have their opportunity to state their case. After each party states their case, they will have an opportunity to ask questions of the other party. Please do not interrupt the other party. You will be given ample time to talk. In many cases, we are aware that there is a history. You may briefly tell the commission about the history. However, please focus on the issue at hand. After each case, the commission will have open deliberations. During these deliberations, the public may not participate. If the commissioners have any additional questions, you may answer that question. No further information will be heard and a decision will be rendered. This decision is a recommendation to the chief of police or his representative. The recommendation of the commission will be taken into consideration and a final decision will be made by the chief of police or his designated representative. If, as the defendant in the case, you are unhappy with the decision of the commission, you may appeal. For citations, appeals are made through the District Court of Maryland. For administrative orders, potentially dangerous, and vicious orders, appeals are made through the County Board of Appeals. Please call the first case.
Alrighty, our first case, we have Animal Care and Control versus Somer Dawson for the appeal to potentially dangerous order for Spooner, the dog. All parties who have an interest in this case who wish to testify may now come forward to take the oath. If you would please utilize Zoom's raise hand feature. I'll get you added in one by one and then sworn in all at the end together. Officer Simpson, you're already here. If you would state your name and address for the record.
Officer Simpson, Animal Care and Control, 411 Maxwell Fry Road, Millersville, Maryland, 21108.
Thank you kindly. Hang on for a second. Ms. Dawson, if you would unmute, state your name and address for the record. Oh, Ms. Dawson, you're still muted. Just 1 second. Let me get you a pop-up there. Can you hear me?
Yep.
All right, if you would state your name and address for the record.
Summer Dawson, 2 Amos Garrett Boulevard, Annapolis, Maryland, 21401.
Thank you kindly. Hang on just for a second. I'll get you sworn in all together at the end here. And Ms. Wilkins, if you would state your name and address for the record.
Hi, Linda Wilkins, 10 German Street, Annapolis, Maryland, 21401.
Thank you kindly. And if you would all raise your right hand. Thank you. Do you declare and affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. If you would please remain muted until called upon to speak, and we are good to proceed.
Okay, do we begin with Officer Simpson?
Yes, good morning, Commission. On June 9, 2021, Animal Care and Control received a complaint from Linda Wilkins concerning her dog Lucy, a Labradoodle female, brown, approximately 6 years old, while walking on a leash, was attacked on June 8, 2021 by a dog described as a gray-colored pit bull-looking dog running at large from the address of 2 Amos Garrett Boulevard, Annapolis, Maryland, 21401, Anne Arundel County, Maryland. Mrs. Wilkins advised that her dog sustained severe injuries and was brought to Anne Arundel County Veterinary Emergency Clinic for treatment on June 8, 2021. Mrs. Wilkins advised that she would provide a written statement of the incident as well as photos of Lucy's injuries. On June 10, 2021, I received photos of Lucy's injuries and a signed written statement from Linda Wilkins regarding the animal incident that occurred on June 8th, as well as veterinarian records from Anne Arundel Veterinary Emergency Clinic. The veterinary records provide Lucy was presented with bite wounds on her left hind leg, as well as a limp in the same leg. which the veterinarian advised that they were concerned it was an injury to the cranial cruciate ligament in the knee of the left hind leg sustained during the animal attack. The laceration was clipped, cleaned, and closed after placing a drain with multiple sutures. On June 10th, 2020, I spoke to the owner of the suspect dog, Summer Dawson, who resides at the address of 2 Amos Garrett Boulevard, Annapolis, Maryland, 21401, Anne Arundel County, Maryland. And she advised that on June 8, 2021, her dog Spooner, a pit bull, blue brindle in color, spayed female, 2 years old, escaped from her house. Due to her power being off and her attempt to circulate air, the front door was left open with only an unsecured screen door, to which Spooner pushed through and attacked Mrs. Wilkins' dog. Mrs. Dawson immediately retrieved the dog after the attack. Mrs. Dawson further advised that her dog has never done anything like this before. I advised Mrs. Dawson that Lucy sustained multiple wounds and a severe laceration that requires sutures and a drain to repair. Mrs. Dawson advised that due to the severity of the victim's dog's injuries and the fact that Spooner was running at large under the Anne Arundel County Public Safety Law, Article 12402, Spooner will be impounded at Animal Care and Control until an investigation was complete and the outcome determined to prevent any further incidents. Mrs. Dawson brought her dog Spooner in Animal Data Sheet 250600 to Animal Care and Control 2 p.m. on June 10, 2021 without incident, and submitted a written statement of fact regarding the animal incident. June 11, 2021, I received a hard copy of the veterinary records from Anne Arundel Emergency Clinic advising of Lucy's injuries. On June 21st, 2021, after careful review of the evidence by myself and Field Officer Supervisor Canning, Mrs. Dawson was served a potentially dangerous order for her dog Spooner, which was signed and submitted to Animal Care and Control, as well as an appeal order, which brings us here to the Animals Matter Commission here today, July 12, 2021. The above incident and related evidence occurred in Anne Arundel County, Maryland, and Mrs. Dawson's dog Spooner is currently in care and custody of Animal Care and Control at 411 Maxwell Fry Road, Millersville, Maryland, 21108. That's all I have for now.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. So, Ms. Wilkins, do you have anything else that you would like to add to that?
Hi. No, I think those are definitely the facts. I do think Summer has been really apologetic and very helpful, and she actually did cover the veterinary expenses. So, you know, I think I leave it up to the experts to decide what the course of action is. You know, I was definitely scared because I have 2 little kids and we live around the corner, and it was just a scary moment. But yeah, I don't have anything else to add. I don't want anything bad to happen, but I definitely lean on the experts on what the right course of action is to just ensure that, you know, everyone is taken care of.
Great, thank you so much. Appreciate that. Mrs. Dawson, would you like to share your story as well? Unmute, sorry. Great.
All right. Hi. Yes, I'd like to appeal the potentially dangerous order. Spooner's a good dog. She has no prior history of this. She's never had an aggression issue in the past. It's also the first time that a dog in my care has ever had an incident like this, and I have had dogs of my own for 10 years. She's always gotten along with other dogs. I have other dogs that she peacefully coexists with. I am sorry for what happened. And like Ms. Wilkins said, I mean, I've been apologetic and I did pay the vet bill immediately. I think it really was an unusual circumstance. My power had been turned off that morning. I had called BG&E and they said it was going to be turned back on. So I went to work. I worked a 12-hour workday and got home and it still wasn't on. And my house was blazing hot. So I was just trying to open my front door and secure my storm door that has like a screened portion on the top. And unfortunately, before I got it secured, Spooner ran out. I mean, she's a young dog and I think she was really hot and trying to get out. And I feel awful for what happened, but it's certainly not something that's ever happened before. And I think that she was just trying to get out and play, and unfortunately it escalated. I mean, the moment that I yelled her name and I kind of smacked her bottom, she released, and then she sat calmly at my feet while I exchanged information with Mrs. Wilkins. She's been through a lot in the past 7 months. Her owner passed away in December. She went from someone that's home all the time with no other dogs to living with me, who has 3 jobs and other dogs. And she has just had a lot to adjust to. And I've been doing my best to find her a new home. And I just want her to be able to have a chance to have the life that she deserves. And I think a potentially dangerous order would make that impossible for her, unfortunately.
Okay, thank you. Other commissioners may have questions at this time for either party as well, but I guess to start, Ms. Dawson, one question that I have is about the storm door and the screen door. What were you attempting to do to secure that door when Spooner stepped out?
There's a hook on the inside of the door. So I was just going to put the hook on and Spooner pushed the door before the hook was in place. So it was my fault that I let her out of the crate before doing that. It was just one of those things where I walked in, it was so hot. I was just like, unfortunately out of my head too, you know, that was my fault.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I was just trying to get a visual of, you know, the door situation and how this could happen again or be prevented. And you know, storm doors and screen doors aren't good secondary barriers because they can push through. So that's what I was thinking about there.
I don't typically leave it like that. It's not a way that I normally am in my house. I mean, then it lets all the air out when there is power. But it was really just to try to air out my house. I had only planned on leaving it open for a couple minutes, you know.
Okay. And then I guess my only other question would be for Ms. Wilkins. How did Spooner present coming out the door? Did she just head straight for, describe her approach?
So my dog was barking, Lucy barks. And there was actually a third dog there barking too. And then we were walking down Amos Garrett, 2 Amos Garrett's on the right-hand side. So I think I remember Spooner coming out quickly onto the porch, barking back at Lucy. Lucy barked back, and then Spooner sprinted towards us. There may have been more barks exchanged, and then from what I remember, Spooner then latched on to Lucy. I couldn't tell where it was. I was scared, and I remember I screamed, and I think what was scary was like I couldn't stop Spooner from like latching. So I think I pulled the leash and screamed because I was so scared. And then I do remember Summer like screaming no, and then coming outside, and it wasn't until then that like the bite was like released, and that's where it was like hard. Like I don't know how long it was, but it was just really like I was scared. And then this probably isn't part of the question, but we didn't realize how severe the injuries were until I actually lifted Lucy and saw later on that there was like blood on my shirt. And then we went around the corner and we happened to be neighbors with a vet who saw that she needed sutures, and that's where we knew, because Lucy was like limping, but it wasn't until we presented to the emergency clinic where they saw that how severe issue was, I guess. So I don't know, it happened really fast. And Summer's right, she definitely came out, but there was like that split moment where I like, it was out of control and didn't know how to like stop it from happening. So, yeah.
Great. Thank you so much. Commissioners, any other questions that you have for either party?
I just have a quick question.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. You mentioned a third dog. What was this? Was this third dog off leash, and what was it doing?
The third dog was in a car parked on Amos Garrett. It was like a poodle or something. So the dog was in the car with the window down and was like also barking. And then that owner, I don't know who it was, drove away after the incident.
Thank you.
Lieutenant, you're muted.
Thank you for reminding me of that. Ms. Wilkins, have you seen Spooner out unattended or unleashed before? Do you walk the neighborhood regularly?
I do walk the neighborhood regularly. That used to be our route, actually, because there's a trash can on West Street, so I like pick up and drop over there. I haven't walked there after the vet advised us not to go that route anymore, so we don't walk by there anymore. I have not, but I'll be honest, I have had neighbors express concern. I don't know what in what detail, but they have expressed concern. So again, there could be total like perception that's happening. This was the first time that I have seen Spooner in that incident.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Dawson, you said you had other dogs. Can you describe your other animals and their sizes and what's your situation there with your animals?
I have 3 other dogs. I have 3 rescue pit bulls. They're all senior dogs. I've had them together for, I guess they've all been together for 7 years now. They're all well behaved, calm. I mean, one only has 3 legs, so he barely moves. The other 2 are old and also barely move, but never had any incidences with them in the past.
The dogs all get along in your house?
They do.
Question for Officer Simpson. Any prior incidents involving animals that are in the care of Ms. Dawson?
No, sir. We don't have any documented history of any kind of animal attack incidents or animal complaints.
All right, thank you.
Ms. Dawson, excuse my voice. You mentioned that, if you had thought about it, you would have latched the door before letting the dog out. I understand the circumstances with the heat, and is that something that you would concern yourself with any other day? I mean, does the dog usually make runs at the door or anything like that? I mean, is it something where the dog is, you have to be very careful about that, or, is it that situation?
It's been something I've been trying to adjust to do with Spooner. My other 3 dogs, like I said, are seniors. They don't ever try to get out the door. I have a fenced-in backyard, so that's normally where they are if I'm home. That was, just the truest of human mistakes. I've never, I don't normally leave the door open when I have the dogs out like that. So it was just kind of running in, and I'm at fault for that. But typically, no, I would not, of course, not have them out in the house if my house wasn't secured. So
I guess my question really is, with the other dogs, they wouldn't even make a run at the door, is what you're saying. But this, this younger dog potentially would make a run for the door, is what you're saying. That's kind of where I'm worried about with this whole order. There's a lot of things in that order. There's a lot of stipulations in that order. And it sounds like the number one thing for this dog, would be to make sure that dog can't make for that door. And the things in this order, like the secondary barrier and things like that, are what can protect the public here. So that's why it's kind of my main concern here. Everything else I could kind of see maybe dropping, this thing a warning, but that's my main concern here is if this dog has tendencies in that case, it's hard for us to look, past that.
She doesn't have tendencies to run to try to get out the door. I guess what I'm saying is that if for whatever reason I had only the storm door, if saw something outside, she might be interested in that, but it's not a normal circumstance for me to only have the storm door. I have like a proper, front door that's normally shut at all times. It was just because of the power being out in that instance. But she's not, she's never escaped or really like made moves to escape before, and
Okay.
not in her previous home either. Like I said, I've only had her since December 4th would be when I got her, but even in her
Thank you.
previous done that.
Ms. Dawson, you had mentioned she's come to you by way of a death. Is she a local dog or is she from out of the area?
She's local. Her owner lived right around the corner from us over on Constitution Avenue by Maryland Hall. So.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question, Ms. Dawson. Since the potentially dangerous order was issued and initialed, has any of the items been complied with at all?
I haven't. I have a fenced-in yard, but I don't have, what is it called? The type of gate, I guess, that snaps back. It's fenced in, but I don't have that type of gate. I haven't followed through with the order. I'm kind of hoping for the best here. I'm also just kind of a financially strapped person. I don't work 3 jobs for fun, so to get everything set would be hard for me.
The front door probably is the issue here, and I'm just we don't want to be overly cautious, but we need to be cautious of the front door opening. I understand this was a situation where the power was off and you wanted to circulate air in the house, but any other thing like bringing in groceries or anything like that, it could possibly happen again. And could there be anything that you could do to prevent it from happening again out the front door without, going overboard with costs or anything, would be my question.
So I leave Spooner in a crate in my home when I'm not here. So normally if I'm bringing in groceries or walking in the door, she is secured until I shut the front door. That day was just me making a poor choice, but every other time, she's in her crate until I walk in and everything's settled. I let the other dogs out first. Normally, all my dogs are in.
Okay, thank you. I got you. You're off. I can't hear you. I don't know what happened. Can you hear me? There we go. I hear sound now. Okay. Thank you. You answered my question.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Dawson, it's John McAndrew from the police department. One quick question. Are you the homeowner?
I am not. I rent.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Dawson, to that point, if this potentially dangerous order was upheld, would the landlord of your rental allow you and or Spooner to continue to stay there, or be willing to try to make some of these adjustments? Any specific things that you'd like requested?
I don't think that they would make any of the adjustments themselves. They're kind of the owner of the house is a retired sheriff who lives in Key West, and he's kind of like, don't bother me and I won't bother you. He doesn't tend to fix things in the house. I've lived here for 4 years and I've fixed anything that's ever broken. I could potentially talk to him to get the written permission for her to be here. It makes it hard because, as I had said before, I've been in the process of trying to rehome her because I know that my home's not ideal with her being a young dog and me working so much. So it would be hard to do all of the things when my end goal is not to be able to keep her forever anyways, and hard to modify the house and things like that.
Yeah, that is part of my, another question I was thinking of was that you've had her since December. And it's not through a specific rescue. It's just by way of being a neighbor that from the death of the owner.
Yeah, the owner was my partner for 5 years, so I ended up with her kind of naturally.
Okay.
And she's been on a website called Rescue Well.
Okay.
They're not a rescue, but they're kind of an organization for like matchmaking, so to speak. She has a profile, and people will apply for her, and they do a background check and things like that. She's gotten one application on there, but it was not an ideal fit for her. But I've been talking to other shelters in the area and other rescues, trying to get her placed through somewhere that can make sure that she's in the right place.
And you're unable to keep her? Is it just sheer number of dogs, or like what?
I mean, I could keep her. I could make it work, but it's like I said, my other dogs are seniors and she's a young dog, and I just don't have the time to give her all of the exercise that she needs and the training that she needs. She's done one board and train weekend with a trainer here in Annapolis and did really well there, but it's not something that I can financially keep up with to keep doing all of that. And she just would do much better in a household where she has someone home more often. So it's not that I'm fully unable to keep her, it's that I just want her to have the life that she should have, which isn't, I don't think, in my home.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Commissioners, any other questions for either party?
Ms. Dawson, you mentioned in your written statement that you had spoken with SPCA, that you were going to be meeting with them the week you put the statement in. Was there, did anything come of that meeting?
I haven't. So I have a friend of mine is one of the behaviorist trainers there. So I've been talking to her, and I was planning on surrendering Spooner to the Maryland SPCA. But then this happened, so it's kind of been put on hold. I've been in touch with her, and she's like, just let me know what becomes of today, pretty much, to see where we're at and what orders Spooner has or whatever. But I would be able to surrender her to the Maryland SPCA if she's not a potentially dangerous dog. If the order is not upheld, I guess I should say.
Thank you.
Sure.
Anyone else? Anything else we can think of at the moment?
Can I say something?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
I can't remember who it was, but asked about just neighbors. So again, this is all perception, and I wasn't there. So if there's anything out of the statement, I would just ask the team to re-explore. But I have heard that another dog has escaped from that vicinity into our neighbor's yard. So again, I don't know what that is, but I think some of the questions that everyone's asking about ensuring that there's security within the fence in the backyard as well as the front door sounds like a good point. But I would feel remiss if I didn't mention that I had heard concern from neighbors about that specific.
Thank you.
Can I add something to that?
Sure.
So I had not been told about that incident until my landlord reached out and said, is there a hole in your fence? It ended up not being my fence. All the houses in a backyard are kind of together in a corner, and it was people next to me who had a hole in their fence and ended up getting their fence fully repaired. But there is one hole in my fence. It's like 12 inches tall. It's one panel of a fence that I now have covered it, but I don't have a dog that's small enough to get through a hole that big. So no one had ever told me that until my landlord heard that. They came and checked out the situation and realized that it was a neighbor's dog who actually had even escaped into my yard before, but I just returned it.
Okay, thank you. Anything else from anyone before we close for open deliberations? Okay, we will now close to public participation and pursue open deliberations. Okay, let's start by hearing Lieutenant McAndrew.
I have some concerns from a public safety perspective, of course, that, she's not the owner of the home. I'm worried about some insurance requirements for that animal. And then my gut tells me, the dog didn't bite the other dog. It's not like the dog was trying to, I guess, kill that other dog, it sounds like, right? And then she was able to get control of the dog and separate the animal. I have a dog, and my neighbors all have dogs, and sometimes our dogs fight. Doesn't sound like this was a fight situation where the Miss Wilkins dog did anything specific to initiate the bite. On the surface, and I don't know how much wiggle room the board has. I love as a person, as a dog lover, to be able to surrender that dog to the SPCA and see if they can find a home for that dog, maybe instead of labeling it a dangerous animal, if it's possible. That's me, is in my own personal feelings about animals. From a public safety perspective, certainly, the dog presents issues. And maybe it's not the dog, maybe it's the lady who's Miss Summers caring and her method of caring for the animal. That's my opinion. On the surface, if I was to vote today, I'd probably say, hey, let's suspend this potentially dangerous order if that is possible, if that even exists. And allow her the opportunity to secure the home, or I'd really like to see her surrender the animal from the animal where the animal's being stored now in Maxwell Forever, at the Animal Control Center, surrender to the SPCA.
Okay.
That's my personal feeling.
Thank you. Jennifer.
I think I'm in agreement with Lieutenant McAndrew as far as reducing the dangerous order to a warning. I'm not sure if, though, the commission has any authority beyond that to then, to do that with the condition that the dog be surrendered to SPCA. I think that's an excellent idea. Ms. Summer had testified that this dog came from a prior environment where the owner was home all day, and then unfortunately, due to a death, ended up with her where she works 3 jobs. And I just think, just like a child, this dog, it needed time to, or went through a major traumatic adjustment. And it's a young dog, and I'd certainly hate to see us label it for the rest of its life. And once we issue this dangerous order, the dog doesn't have a shot. So, I would like to reduce it to a warning if, like I said, I'm not sure what authority the commission has, or if we can even follow up on it. But I would definitely like to see the dog go to the SPCA. I think Ms. Summer has done all she can, but like she said, she is working 3 jobs. She's taken in senior dogs as a rescue. So I think, she obviously loves the animals, but it's just too much for her. And I'd like to see Spooner have a chance.
Okay, thanks. Ed.
Yes, this is another one of these hard ones where you're kind of half and half, but I'm leaning toward a reduction simply based on the characters of the witnesses. They seem to have kind of smoothed it out together, and the only thing left is whether or not this could possibly happen again, because if it does, then it's on us as a commission for not making the right decision. But I think the right decision in this particular issue, from what I've heard, is I'm pretty sure that Spooner's owner, Miss Dawson, has she's had the warning. Now I think she'll be very cautious about whether the dog can get out or not. This is a single incident. I don't think it's likely to happen again because of this. She, as Jennifer said, she obviously does love animals, and I think my opinion on allowing her to help the animals far outweighs keeping the potentially dangerous order in place, because I do not believe that this will happen again. So I'd be in favor to reducing it to a warning with a strong recommendation to watch that front door or have a secondary barrier. But she already said that there is one. She keeps her in a crate. Um, but I'd be willing for that for the sake of the animal, more so than if we leave the potentially dangerous order in place, then it can't go anywhere. So um, that's my opinion. I thought it out, and I honestly believe that the warning letter with a strong recommendation would probably suffice in this particular incident.
Okay, thanks. Thomas?
Yeah, I'm not going to get too long-winded with it. I kind of agree with everyone. I do believe this is kind of the perfect storm, you know, with the power being out and everything that had happened. You know, it sounds like if the dog's crated, you know, there shouldn't be any issue coming in the door in the future. But I really wish as a commission we had a tool to deal with these situations with younger dogs that are in this situation, because in a perfect world, I think in a perfect world, with if this was an older dog or a dog that was planning on being kept, I'd have no issue keeping this you know, dangerous order, potentially dangerous order there, just to keep the secondary barrier in place. Because you're right, Ms. Brienza, there is nothing we can do once we drop it to a warning. There is no true follow-up. We can recommend all we want, but it kind of puts us in a bad place. But I think in this case, I'm willing to take the leap of faith and hope that this dog can get rehomed. And I do believe a warning, you know, is appropriate in this case.
Thanks, Tom. This is a tough one. It's I mean, this is one of the cases that makes it hard for us, is that this is a young dog. And so I think I might be erring on the side a little bit differently than the rest of the commission, because I think that unfortunately, I mean, we want to see the dog be successful, and we have what, you know, seems like, you know, good people and good owners and good neighbors. And so, you know, to set everyone up for success. But if I remove that emotional response and just think about what happened to Lucy, a leashed dog that seems to have been turned away and attacked at the rear of its back leg, unprovoked, I think that, you know, Spooner has a real potential to be dangerous. And not all dog incidences where dogs run out and bark and have a scuffle result in, a lot of times dogs are most noise and more bark, less bite, and they can tangle and not come away with punctures. They can bite. There's different levels of bites. They can bite and release, continuing to bite, multiple puncture wounds, a laceration with a drain. The injury is severe enough to me that I think Spooner has real potential. And if this dog is rehomed somewhere and they don't know, if they're not told that this dog has potential, you know, somebody is adopting a 2-year-old dog and doesn't have all the information, then there is going to be a public safety issue, especially if that information isn't shared with the potential new owner. So I'm worried just based on the bite severity and unprovoked and how it happened. I mean, it's a perfect storm and I get it. It's not anything, you know, that we dream of. And Miss Dawson, the door slipped open and it was, you know, power out. But in a 2-year-old dog's life, how many more perfect storm situations could happen? And this is a potentially dangerous order. It's not dangerous. The order, I mean, there's very little difference in the orders, just semantics, but I would say that I feel like Spooner has shown potentially dangerous behavior, and a severity of that bite wound makes me nervous. And a new owner without that information makes me nervous. So I want to see a young dog success. I want to see this dog either stay in place with Miss Dawson. It seems like she has a good system, and she is understanding if this dog stayed with Miss Dawson, that probably would be fine, because she knows the potential and she could manage it. But if this dog is adopted out without this information being shared, it just makes me nervous. So would a warning be enough? We don't have any home inspection authority with that, but it sounds like the crate that she has in place would be enough. If a warning letter if it's dropped to a warning, I think that is evidence that can be researched by future owners or shared. I mean, I think it does sort of track the case. We don't have any authority to stand behind it and inspect the home, but I think a warning letter does still remain on file, and this case will still be on file. So this is the difficult situation where we are. What do we do? How do we set this dog up for success, and how do we maintain our main goal of public safety? Would a warning letter be enough? And I think everyone else is feeling like they're leaning towards that way. I just wanted to share the other perspective that I'm nervous because of the bite severity. And if this dog is rehomed, they really need to know what they're dealing with, a real potential. And it's not just like a little bite. I mean, this was a severe injury. So anyway, that's my thoughts. It makes it really difficult. Do you guys have any other ideas or with that in mind? Maybe another loop of feedback on how you feel about my thoughts?
I just have a question. It was stated that if the PDO stayed in place, the dog couldn't go anywhere. Is that true?
No, the dog can be adopted, right? I mean, the people just have to know what they're dealing with, right?
Yeah, essentially with the PDO, it's still in place. Anyone within, any jurisdiction really, but in Anne Arundel County specifically, anyone would have to follow by the rules of the PDO. And if it went out of the jurisdiction, that jurisdiction need to be made aware, and they may make their own ruling on what the dog can and can't do. So it will make it harder in the fact that there are stipulations there. That's true. So
and maybe rescue organizations won't want to participate, but it's not that the dog can't be rehomed. It just makes it a little more difficult. And there's compliance issues, which would be good. The compliance issues to follow would be good for whoever.
I don't disagree with anything you just said. I mean, I'm really 50-50 on this. I mean, I see where it was a bad, it was a one-off situation. This person usually wouldn't deal with that. We deal with those one-off situations a lot. It is a young dog, but I totally agree with you that moving forward, that someone potentially unaware of this situation, we could very easily see this dog come back in front of us again. We may not even know it because they may rename the dog in that situation. You never even know. I mean, it could be crazy, but I see what you're saying. I mean, I can definitely agree with you there.
How was is Officer Simpson still on? How did the county government get notified? Officer Simpson? Can you guys hear me?
Yep, here he comes.
Yeah. Yes, sir. We received a phone call from the complainant.
Okay. So there was concern from the other dog owner of.
Yeah, we received a complaint from the victim dog owner.
Okay. Well, what do we think? It's
I have a question. I understand that. So you're saying that entering the potentially dangerous order doesn't prevent the dog from being rehomed.
Right.
That may be as a statutory matter, but as a practical matter.
Right.
The dog has a PDO. Does anybody ever step up to take it? I mean, do we know? I mean, I guess
an organization like SPCA may not jump in and say you can't, they're not going to adopt through them because it's too much, there. But like anybody that would be willing to follow all the issues in that order could definitely retake the dog. I mean, the problem is, it takes a lot longer to find somebody that's willing to do that generally.
And I have seen on rescue pages that they'll have behavior sort of analysis of dogs on rescue pages that will say like, this is a one dog household, like doesn't get along with cats, doesn't get along with kids, if they've had like a bite history with children. So no children under 12 years old. So a lot of rescue places will say that this dog doesn't get along with other dogs. So it's a one dog household. It makes it harder to find homes, but I have seen those kinds of things where they have a situation that they're, and this would be the best situation for this dog would be, I don't know about Spooner, but just saying like, sometimes they'll have those things written up if they know a history, especially a bite history. It's not that they won't ever get rehomed. It does just make it more difficult. And they will, if they know the history, they'll put it on there and say that, can't be around kids, can't be around cats. It's had a cat issue, things like that. So, but it doesn't make it more difficult. So for practicality, like you said, however, we're always thinking of the dog as well. And, a young dog with a life ahead of it, how do we manage this? But there are people that can do it. It's just hard. And I guess the question is, someone's just walking their dog on a leash in front of a house and unprovoked, a pretty severe attack. That is just so worrisome that it can happen again.
If we go back and look at, you're talking about we got to look at this order in and of itself.
Right.
The main sticking point to me in this order, it sounds like the dog lives peacefully with other dogs, has a fenced in backyard that can get into. There's a lot of things in that order. The biggest thing, obviously, is that this dog can't run out the front door. And there's nothing we can do with a warning letter to make sure that happens. If we dropped every other stipulation in the entire order and just kept the double barrier out front, for the front door, we could literally craft it that way. And that's the only stipulation that moving forward, another owner would have to abide by. That's not that we should do that. Not that we should take every stipulation away, but I'm just saying literally that would be, but then that's our only way of
ensuring
that this can't happen again without consequences. And also ensuring that if a new owner were to take ownership of this animal, that they would be aware that is something that they need to do. That's the only way. Otherwise, a warning letter is, I do believe that in this case, Ms. Dawson fully understands what's going on here. But I agree with Stephanie that maybe moving forward, that's not the case. If the new owner is not fully aware, then.
And would a warning letter be enough to make this? It's potential that Miss Summers may keep the dog. Not out of that realm either. It's possible she could keep the dog, and maybe she does. And she's well aware. But like you said, is a warning. So I guess my question is, how do we feel? Do we feel like a warning letter with a strong recommendation for she's done training, but a strong recommendation for secondary barriers. She does the crate thing, so that's really like she admits that was a one error kind of thing, one off. But anyway, so would a warning letter be enough if Spooner is ever rehomed? That would be enough information. At least it's tracked in the records system. We don't have any authority to inspect a home, but it would be tracked if there was ever an incident with Spooner again. Even if the name is changed, we go by microchip, so they'll know who the dog is, maybe through records. So if there's anything that happens again in the future in another home, would a warning letter be enough to track it? I guess as a group we could think about, because we want to just it's just such a one-off. We want to give them a chance. It seems like they're responsible enough to give a chance. Public safety, those are the two things we're thinking about. Could this happen again? Is this a real potential? Yes, in my mind. So then, do we uphold this order, or do you think a warning letter will be enough with a strong recommendation for secondary barriers? I like to make it difficult for us.
I tend to believe that it should be enough. I believe that
warning letters are searchable, right?
They should be searchable. They should be, yes. If this, you're right, change of name or otherwise, the animal should be able to be tracked, where if it came down in front of us again, I suppose someone could use the excuse that they did not do any research and did not find that warning letter,
right.
But it would exist in the system. I don't know how anyone else feels about it. I tend to think that in this situation, I don't know. I think that this owner should, she's obviously already had applications and said that it didn't work out previously. I think is what she said with another. She had an application. It was already out there. So I'm hoping she'll be forthright with people that are coming to, see this dog. And obviously she has invested in a lot of other dogs. And, I think investing in this dog's future, she can, at least get that out there. Excuse me.
Anyone else on final thoughts on
If she
warning
does follow
versus
through with the SPCA, she mentioned that that was kind of put on hold because they wanted to know what happened here first. So I mean, I have to believe, just knowing what I do of the SPCA, that once they're aware of this outcome, if the dog is placed through them, they will follow through and make sure that any potential new owner is aware. I can't imagine they would do anything other than that. But I do agree with Thomas in that even the applications that Miss Summer has reviewed so far, she has been, very diligent at looking to see what would be a proper home for the dog. So I believe she will pass the information along, even if it is a private transfer.
anyone else in comments, or how do we feel? Are we ready to make a motion?
I'll go ahead and make a motion, but before I do, I would also like to say, Stephanie, to your point, a lot of times we sit here and talk about responsibility, and this owner definitely seems, up there with the more responsible owners that we've seen in this commission. I mean, we've seen people that just could care less, and this person obviously has invested her time and energy into dogs, and specifically in trying to get this dog rehomed. So that being said, I'm going to go ahead and move to drop this to a warning with a strong recommendation for secondary barriers. And I think that should cover it. I don't know if anyone else has anything they'd like to add to the recommendations, but obviously, we could always add training and things like that. But definitely, I want to, move to dropping it to a warning and secondary barriers as a strong recommendation.
I'll second that.
All in favor? And I'm a no. Thank you. Tough case. Thanks, guys. And we will hear the next case.
So the next case was Zila Foot versus Shannon Hutchinson for the appeal of an animal running at large citation. Both the complainant and defendant are now getting along perfectly. The complaint was withdrawn. Life is good. It's a Christmas miracle.
All right.
And the next one, I'm not 100% about because I don't see but one person in for our. Oh, no, there we go. So the next case, we have Ann Montgomery versus Stephanie Fritz for a public safety threat citation for Ezra the dog. All parties who have an interest in this case who wish to testify may now come forward to take the oath. Please utilize Zoom's raise hand feature. I'll get you added in one by one and then sworn in at the end. And I've actually got Ann Montgomery here. Bring her up. Ms. Montgomery, if you could unmute and bring your camera up. Oh.
Sure. There we go.
There we go.
Okay.
All right, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Wonderful. If you would please state your name and address for the record.
Ann Montgomery, 859 Holly Drive South, Annapolis, Maryland.
Thank you kindly. Hang out for just 1 second. I'll get everybody sworn in at the end. I don't see our defendant. She did specifically request this hearing, so let me reach out and see if I can make contact. I'll be right back. and the number she provided in her appeal form went straight to voicemail twice. So we have a defendant failure to appear.
So then this citation would hold.
Yep, that's an automatic uphold.
Okay.
I'll grab that. All right. Ms. Montgomery, thank you for appearing. That will be upheld, and the defendant will have 20 days to make payments, or it'll be forwarded to district court. If it is ignored and forwarded to district court, you'll receive a summons for that. My apologies, but that would be the next step.
Okay,
Thank you for being here today.
Right.
Appreciate it.
thank you.
Philip, can I just ask a quick, I know it doesn't matter now, I'm just curious. Was there a typo on these forms? Is this really from an incident back in December?
Yes, it was December.
Okay.
Yes.
All
Anything?
right. Nope, that'll do that. So on the subject of minutes, if it's all right, Stephanie, can I share the forms with you digitally? Normally, I have the chairperson come in and collect a physical copy, but you know we're utilizing this wonderful digital world that we're in now.
Yeah.
So give me 2 seconds. The
Okay.
first one should be popping up now for 5/3/21, and then the second one will be right behind that for 6/7/21, and that's to the S. Steeler.
Oh, in my email. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, that's the one I have on file for you.
Okay. Yeah, I can sign them digitally. Do you need to do that right now, or like just
Well,
today?
this would be signing them digitally. Tom was acting chairman and signed the one. This is for the approval of minutes for the vote, and
Okay.
so that would need all parties present to just make the motion to approve.
Okay.
So essentially, you glance over them, make sure I'm not making things up horribly, and then.
Okay, I will pull up the minutes that you've emailed over in just a moment here.
Thank you so much.
While she's doing that, Philip, can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Are we going to remain virtual now, or?
I have not received guidance one way or the other.
I mean, I'm good with
until-
remaining virtual.
yeah.
I just wanted to know for planning purposes if, like, we were going to get a notice next month or something to appear in person.
Until further notice, I would say assume we're going to stay digital, just because I haven't been told that we're going to be in person. County did send out that it's going to open up tail end of July, so we may see that. But as of right now, the training room that we usually utilize, we have an overflow of exotic animals. So it's rabbits and chinchillas and hamsters and God knows what.
All right, thank you.
Absolutely. Did it come through okay, Stephanie?
I am not seeing it yet. I'm just refreshing, but I'm not seeing it come up yet. I mean, I have the reminder from this morning for the Zoom link, but let me check other folder.
Try one more time.
Yeah, it's a little tricky email, so sometimes it can get messed up. And then I should mention, oh, there it is. Yep. Okay.
Okay.
And then I should mention, with it needing an acting chairperson for next month, I will be gone in the beginning of August, so I will not be in attendance. And I just wanted to share that with the group so that we're all prepared for that too.
All right, looks like that's August 2nd.
Yes, I will be out of town.
Okay.
And let me open up our minutes here and just breeze over then real quick.
Thank you.
Phil, I should be able to attend the second and can act that day if that's all right with everybody. I don't see any reason why I couldn't do that.
I appreciate you, sir.
Okay, everything looks correct to me. Good. Okay, so do we, do you need me to make a motion to approve the minutes from last session? Okay.
Yep.
I move to uphold the minutes from May 3rd, 2021. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. Is that all of our business for today?
There was also the minutes from 6/7/21.
Okay, let me get that. Okay, got it. Okay, and I move to uphold the minutes from 6/7/21. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Thank you.
Perfect. And unless we have any other business, that would be on to the last bit for adjourning.
I think that's it. It's good to see you guys. I look forward to when we are back in person. Let us know. That'll be
Once I
fun
hear
to see you
something,
guys.
I'll shoot you an email.
Okay, sounds good. You guys have a good rest of the day. And I move to, oh, you had something, Tom?
No, I was going to say,
Okay.
I'll move to adjourn.
Yep, wonderful. Second that. All in favor?
Perfect.
Thanks. Have a good one. Bye.
See you guys.
Stay cool, everyone.
True enough. Have a good day. 10:02.